My commentary, Bud thought it was a Pulitzer Prize winner. Let's see how he did.
This is not as good, but this is guaranteed to make some Indians fans angry, which I didn't mean to do, but okay. An ESPN report from baseball writer Buster-Olney says that the Indians likely will be sellers and that closer Brad Hand might be the first to go. Nobody wants to hear that. The Indians remain 10.5 games behind the Twins, but still have wild card aspirations. If the report is true, is it too soon to sell? Reluctantly, I'd have to say no. I mean, the Indians won 2 series against the Twins and Yankees, but those series wins didn't answer the right questions in my mind. Namely, is Jose-Ramirez season salvageable? Is Corey-Kluber going to come back healthy and ready to dominate? How about Mike-Clevinger? Is Trevor-Bauer the pitcher who started the season, or the one who hasn't won since April 30th? We haven't even begun to talk about Carlos-Carrasco here and what he's dealing with. This simply isn't the Indian season for those reasons and others. The time is quickly coming, I think, to sell off valuable assets and accelerate the rebuild. And now I'll let Les tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, I'm kind of for the wild card, not 2. I'm for the 1 wild card. But it's so silly when you say the Indians are 10.5 games out. They haven't reached the All-Star game, the All-Star break, and they still have aspirations for the wild card. If you can make that statement, there's something wrong with having the wild card.
Well, here's what I think. I mean, if you look at this team and you say the reason why they're a wild card contender is that Jose-Ramirez is finding his swing, you know. Lindor is the MVP candidate we all thought he would be.
Kipnis is not.
Kipnis is playing well in the final year of his contract. Kluber is back to form. If those were the reasons why, you would say, well, there's some good foundation here for a run at either the Minnesota Twins, but barring that, also a playoff spot. But what I see is Roberto Perez, is one of the reasons why they're holding their own from a power standpoint. I don't see like the guys that I look at and think, can they continue to do this? And Mercado is another example of that.
What if you just wrote this year off as a bad year, which could happen? Unfortunately, the injuries hit the pitching staff and the guys didn't turn it around offensively. What if you just said, that's baseball, let's hitch them up again in 2020 and see what you got, because theoretically you still have the pitchers you thought you had.
Yeah.
I don't know about Carrasco, but you have the other guys. You can easily understand how Bauer is just having a bad year, right?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you say, instead of just chucking everything, why wouldn't you say, let's give him one more chance?
Well, you could, but I think you would really accelerate the rebuild. Like, I did a Channel 3 podcast today with Ben Axelrod, and one of the points he made was that why Brad Hand is so pivotal in this whole discussion is that you remember what the Indians gave up when they got Andrew Miller, right?
You saw it this weekend.
It was one of their top prospects.
Right.
And if they could turn around with Brad Hand and deal him to a similar contender and come away with somebody's top prospect, I think that's a big deal, because right now, when you look at the minor league system, you see a guy like Bobby Bradley down there. Mercado's come up and done a few good things, but do you see? Nobody's the next Frankie Lindor, but do you see a top, a prospect that everybody in baseball is coveting?
I just read somewhere they don't even have a top 50 guy.
Yeah, so I think that's why you're going to hear more and more about Hand. I mean, other than the fact that he's having a tremendous season, and his contract is club friendly for a couple more years. You might be able to get more for him because of that.
Well, here's the problem. Let's say you make a trade and you get guys that help you offensively and make you a contender, especially in that division. If you get those guys, you're going to need Brad Hand or somebody like him.
Do you think they're going to get hitters back this year that are going to make them a contender?
No, but hopefully they're going to get hitters that, if they get it right, it's somebody who's going to hit for them in 2 years.
Yeah. And at that point,
and you wouldn't have Hand anyway.
You wouldn't have Hand, and then the whole question of how long do you hold on to Lindor? I don't think Lindor's part of the discussion this year. I really don't think. I think this ownership has to come back and make a more concerted effort to sign him, even though you know and I know that it's probably not going to be enough to sway him.
Right.
I think from a fan standpoint, they've got to put a contract together, and they got to let people know that this is what they offered the guy.
Yes, but whatever it is, the people will say that was a phony offer, or it wasn't legit, or they never intend to, they're cheap. You're going to hear that.
Yeah, you're always going to hear it, but I just think if you just say, well, he's
enjoy him while you have him.
Yeah, we've seen how enjoy him while you have him works. So maybe making a more meaty offer might help.
But Shaw, with this